Hello Golden State Warriors fans, we are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
Draymond Green strikes a chord by calling out the Warriors' stagnant off-season. Draymond Green didn't miss the mark. He said exactly what many Warriors fans have been thinking. As the Golden State Warriors remain the only team yet to make a move in free agency this offseason, frustration has been building, not just among fans, but also within the locker room. And Green, never one to hold back, voiced that frustration in a way only he could. In a candid series of posts on Threads, the veteran forward pointed the finger directly at the new collective bargaining agreement, CBA, writing, "We can only blame the new CBA and the second apron for completely killing free agency." While teams across the league made early attempts to retool their rosters, Golden State stood still, watching as opportunities slipped by. Green's message cut through the noise and perfectly captured the underlying disappointment many fans feel, that this summer, the Warriors' ambitions have been hamstrung not by lack of vision, but by the league's own economic restrictions. Free agency has hit a wall, and Golden State feels it more than most. The Warriors enter the offseason with two pressing needs, a rim-protecting center and a secondary playmaker on the wing. With limited cap flexibility, exacerbated by the high cost of trading for Jimmy Butler, Golden State allowed veterans Kevin Looney and Gary Payton II to enter free agency, likely anticipating that bolder moves were on the horizon. But as other teams acted swiftly in the first 48 hours of free agency, the Warriors remained inactive. Part of the holdup lies with Jonathan Kuminga's unresolved situation. The 22-year-old restricted free agent hasn't signed an offer sheet or generated significant sign-and-trade momentum. And he's not alone. Across the league, players like Josh Giddey and Quentin Grimes have also found themselves in limbo, casualties of a system that discourages mid-level investment in emerging talent. Draymond's criticism hits a larger truth. The new CBA changed the game. Under the new CBA, financial penalties tied to the luxury tax and the restrictive second apron are forcing front offices to be more conservative. Teams are hesitant to offer sizable contracts to young, unproven players, or even veterans who don't fit a precise mold. As a result, free agency has ground to a halt. Even solid contributors, players who aren't superstars but who make a real impact, are now being squeezed out by a system that overvalues top-heavy rosters and discourages deep, balanced teams. This dynamic has reshaped the off-season strategy across the NBA. Extensions and bird rights are now more appealing than open market signings, pushing many players to either re-sign with their current teams or seek trades that preserve their full financial value. That leaves teams like Golden State, who once thrived on savvy free agent additions, at a disadvantage. A team caught in transition. The Warriors, trying to maintain flexibility while still building around Stephen Curry's remaining prime years, now find themselves stuck. And Green's frustration isn't just about one off-season. It's about a broader system that's making it harder for teams like the Warriors to adapt and compete. For a franchise that once defined modern dynasty building, the new rules are testing their ability to pivot and reload. Green's message wasn't just a critique of the CBA, it was a call to action. A reminder that, if Golden State wants to remain a contender, they'll need to be bolder, smarter, and more united than ever in navigating a new NBA landscape. As the off-season stretches on, the clock is ticking. The Warriors may still make their move, but until then, the silence is speaking volumes. Kuminga's uncertainty highlights a growing issue. Draymond Green's concerns about the stalled free agency aren't just theoretical, they reflect a reality the Warriors are dealing with firsthand. Jonathan Kuminga, a restricted free agent, remains unsigned. Neither Golden State nor other teams have made progress on an extension or a potential sign-and-trade deal. The lack of movement mirrors what's happening across the league with several other young players in similar positions. This kind of stalemate is exactly what Green criticized. Under the new CBA, teams are more cautious than ever, especially when it comes to offering long-term money to players who haven't yet become stars. As a result, promising talents are left in limbo, unable to move forward with clarity. Warriors left waiting and falling behind. The Warriors enter the offseason with clear goals: improve rim protection and add a secondary playmaker. Instead, they've let key veterans walk, including Kevin Looney and Gary Payton II, likely to create room for bigger roster upgrades. But as other teams acted quickly in the first days of free agency, Golden State remained inactive. Their inability to move on Kuminga, and hesitation to take bold financial steps due to cap limitations, has left the roster incomplete, with no clear direction yet. This is more than just a personnel issue. It's become a philosophical one. The franchise that once redefined how teams are built is now navigating a system that punishes depth, discourages risk, and makes flexibility harder to come by. The broader impact across the league. Green's comments have sparked conversation not just among Warriors fans, but throughout the NBA. Players, agents, and executives are all grappling with the new economic realities imposed by the CBA. The second apron has created a system where teams either invest heavily in their stars, or sit idle, unable to justify mid-level spending. This has made it harder for competitive teams like Golden State to retool without sacrificing long-term stability or financial sanity. Even well-run organizations with championship aspirations are struggling to operate under the new rules. Looking ahead. With the clock ticking toward training camp, the Warriors are facing tough decisions. Do they push for a resolution with Kuminga? Do they pursue a veteran who fits the system, like Al Horford? Or do they hold firm, hoping the market breaks open? Whatever path they choose, it's clear this offseason isn't just about one roster. It's about a new era of NBA team building, one that Draymond Green rightly sees as limiting the very competition the league is built on. The Warriors' next steps will say a lot about their future, and about whether they can still thrive under the league's changing landscape. Warriors may need an unconventional path to land the ideal Jonathan Kuminga trade. The longer Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency drags on, the more likely it becomes that the former No. 7 overall pick will return to the Golden State Warriors on a short-term deal. The Sacramento Kings emerged as a strong suitor for Kuminga last week, but their momentum seemed to fade after the Warriors reportedly turned down a trade offer involving Dario Saric, rookie Devin Carter, and 2 second-round picks. At this point, a deal with Sacramento remains the most plausible outcome, if Kuminga is indeed moved. But the key to unlocking the ideal trade for Golden State may not come from the front office. It might have to come from a player on the Kings roster. Could Keegan Murray be questioning his role in Sacramento? The Warriors have shown little interest in Sacramento's current offers, and reportedly aren't keen on adding dynamic scorer Malik Monk. Instead, Golden State's dream target is likely Keegan Murray, the versatile forward and former No. 4 overall pick. Sacramento, of course, has no intention of giving up Murray in a straight swap for Kuminga. But what if Murray himself began to question his long-term fit with the Kings? That scenario may not be as far-fetched as it sounds. On a recent episode of the Game Theory podcast, the Athletic's Sam Vecenie floated the idea that Murray, and his representation, could be watching how the Kings roster is shaping up and wondering if it's the right environment for him. If you're Keegan Murray or his reps and you're seeing how this roster is coming together, are you sure you want to be there long-term? Vecenie asked. He'll be a restricted free agent next summer, so the team holds leverage. But is this really the situation you want to commit to, especially if you're not getting the shots you need to grow? He makes a valid point. Almost every key player Sacramento has added lately thrives on having the ball in their hands. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are high-usage scorers. Monk took a career-high 14.4 shots per game last season. Even Domantas Sabonis and Dennis Schroeder, while more willing passers, will take their share of shots. Murray's role seems to be shrinking. His field goal attempts dropped from 12.7 to 10.8 per game last season, including nearly one fewer three-point attempt. Adding Kuminga to that mix could only push Murray further down the pecking order, at a time when he's trying to earn a significant rookie extension. A perfect fit in Golden State? Murray's game could flourish in Golden State. He's a smart floor-spacing forward who would thrive alongside Stephen Curry, benefiting from the gravity of Curry's presence and finding open looks in the corners or on the wings. With Jimmy Butler drawing defenders into the paint, Murray could quietly become one of the most efficient secondary scorers in the league. But Golden State doesn't need to directly ask for Murray. Their best hope might be that Murray and his camp begin to express doubt about signing a long-term extension in Sacramento. That kind of hesitation could push the Kings to reconsider, and potentially open the door for a more serious trade discussion. Until then, however, the Warriors may have no choice but to bring Kuminga back next season, likely on a shorter-term deal, while they continue to search for the right opportunity. As the trade talks continue to stall, The uncertainty surrounding Kuminga's future is beginning to raise questions both inside and outside the Warriors organization. The longer this restricted free agency drags on, the more it impacts roster planning, salary cap flexibility, and ultimately, the team's ability to improve. Golden State's front office faces a delicate balancing act. Holding on to Kuminga means they retain a young, versatile talent with championship experience, but it also means potentially missing out on the opportunity to add a player like Keegan Murray, who could address specific needs like spacing and wing defense. On the other hand, pushing too hard in trade negotiations risks alienating Sacramento, which is already hesitant after seeing its own core players like Murray possibly express doubts. The Kings, locked in their own rebuild and roster reshaping, may be reluctant to part with a young star unless the return is substantial and clear. The ripple effects of this deadlock extend beyond just the two teams. Other Western Conference contenders are watching closely, aware that any deal involving these high-potential players could shift the balance of power. For the Warriors, who are eager to stay competitive during the waning years of their core's prime, the stakes couldn't be higher. Fans and analysts alike are debating what the best path forward is. Should Golden State exercise patience and trust in Kuminga's development? Or should they aggressively pursue a trade that might shake up their roster in hopes of reigniting championship contention? Meanwhile, Kuminga himself is in a challenging position. He must weigh the benefits of staying with a familiar team known for its winning culture against the uncertainties of joining a new franchise. His performance and attitude in the coming weeks could heavily influence his market value and the willingness of teams to strike a deal. The broader conversation also highlights a larger trend in the NBA, the complexities and constraints created by the new collective bargaining agreement. With salary caps, luxury taxes, and player movement rules becoming increasingly restrictive, teams find themselves navigating a more cautious and calculated approach in free agency and trades. In this environment, young players like Kuminga and Murray become valuable trade chips, but also bargaining pieces caught in a system that favors financial prudence over bold moves. This has frustrated fans craving more aggressive roster building and clearer championship windows. As the clock ticks closer to training camp, the Warriors management must decide whether to wait for the perfect deal or double down on their current core, hoping internal growth will be enough. Whatever the outcome, this saga underscores how high-stakes and delicate NBA roster construction has become, and how one player's uncertain future can influence an entire franchise's trajectory. Golden State Warriors reluctant to trade Jonathan Kuminga to interested rival team. The Golden State Warriors have made it clear, they're not eager to part ways with Jonathan Kuminga, especially not to a direct rival. So far, the Warriors have been one of the quietest teams in the NBA offseason. In fact, they're the only franchise that hasn't made a single trade or signed any free agents. While Draymond Green reportedly laid out a compelling vision to build a stronger roster around Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office have yet to act on that advice. Instead, the Warriors have seen departures, most notably veteran Kevin Looney, who signed with the New Orleans Pelicans. Then there's the case of Jonathan Kuminga. At just 22 years old, the rising star has become a restricted free agent. Although he's hinted at wanting to move on in search of a bigger role, the league hasn't exactly been knocking down the door with offers. Still, Golden State has made one thing abundantly clear: they're not going to help a rival land their young talent on the cheap. Warriors not entertaining sign-and-trade talks with Sacramento Kings. According to Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, while the Warriors remain patient with Kuminga's restricted free agency, they've already ruled out at least one scenario: a move to the Sacramento Kings. Yes, the Kings have shown strong interest in Kuminga, but sources say there's been no real momentum in sign-and-trade discussions. In fact, Golden State has little interest in helping a division rival strengthen their roster. If a trade does happen, the Warriors would strongly prefer not to send Kuminga to the Kings, Siegel reported. The Kings may like Kuminga, but they're not prepared to offer the kind of deal that would change Golden State's mind. At this point, that ship may have sailed. Golden State aiming to resolve Kuminga's future during Summer League. Siegel's report also noted that the Warriors plan to meet with Kuminga's representatives during the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. The goal? Reach a short-term agreement that allows Kuminga to continue growing his value while staying in the Bay Area. All signs point toward a likely reunion. Once Kuminga's situation is sorted, Golden State is expected to shift focus toward signing veteran free agents, many of whom are still available. With the Summer League tipping off Thursday, sources say meetings between Kuminga's camp and both Warriors officials and other interested teams are expected in Las Vegas. A resolution could follow shortly after. Several voices around the league have urged the Warriors to move quickly. ESPN's Ramona Shelburne even warned that how they handle Kuminga could make or break their off-season. And honestly, given how things have unfolded so far, she may have a point. The clock is ticking, and it's time for both sides to find common ground, so the Warriors can finally turn the page and start reshaping their roster. As the NBA Summer League begins in Las Vegas, the future of Jonathan Kuminga remains a central storyline for the Golden State Warriors. While a short-term agreement is reportedly being considered, either in the form of a bridge contract or a potential sign-and trade, the situation is becoming increasingly complex and influential for the team's off-season strategy. Trade rumors and market dynamics. Recent reports indicate that the Sacramento Kings have shown continued interest in Kuminga, even exploring trade scenarios involving draft assets and players like rookie guard Devin Carter. However, Golden State has remained firm. They are unwilling to send Kuminga to a division rival, especially if the return doesn't meet their long-term objectives. Other teams such as the Miami Heat and Atlanta Hawks have been loosely linked to Kuminga, but no serious offers have emerged. One complication is the financial landscape. Kuminga is reportedly seeking a contract around $30 million per season, and many cap-strapped teams are reluctant to commit that level of investment without a clearer understanding of his future role and ceiling. CBA constraints. The Warriors face another obstacle due to collective bargaining agreement, CBA rules. Because Kuminga is a restricted free agent and would be signing a new contract in a sign-and-trade scenario, the team receiving him would only be able to count half of his salary toward the trade. This base-year compensation clause limits trade flexibility and complicates potential deals. Internal fit and future role. There are also questions within the Warriors' own locker room. While Kuminga has made significant progress as a player and continues to show promise at just 22 years old, head coach Steve Kerr has admitted that integrating him alongside Jimmy Butler, another aggressive, slashing forward, could present challenges in spacing and offensive structure. At the same time, key players like Stephen Curry have publicly praised Kuminga's work ethic and year-to-year development. This internal divide has made the decision even more delicate. Keep developing a young talent who still has untapped potential, or use him as a trade chip to bring in veteran help and retool the roster around Curry. Organizational pressure. Analysts and insiders have expressed concern that the Warriors' indecision around Kuminga could stall the team's off-season momentum. Some have argued that dragging out the process may weaken their negotiating leverage, while others believe the team is right to be patient and avoid a rush decision that could haunt them long-term. The Warriors are also reportedly interested in signing experienced free agents like Al Horford to reinforce their frontcourt and provide leadership. However, cap space remains tight, and any major moves are likely contingent on resolving Kuminga's situation first. What comes next? According to sources, the Warriors will meet with Kuminga's representatives during the Summer League in Las Vegas. The goal is to find common ground. Whether that results in a short-term extension or a sign-and-trade deal remains to be seen. A resolution is expected to follow soon after these discussions, which could then allow Golden State to begin filling out the rest of its roster. The broader implications. How the Warriors handle Kuminga's future could have long-lasting effects. Keeping him would signal a continued investment in youth and development. Trading him, particularly for immediate contributors, would show a desire to maximize the current championship window around Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. Either way, the outcome of these negotiations will likely define the Warriors' direction for the next several seasons. Golden State urged to send Curry to recruit Hall of Fame caliber free agent. He's the perfect fit. The Golden State Warriors have become one of the most talked about teams this offseason, not because of bold moves, but because of their complete lack of activity. As of now, they remain the only NBA franchise yet to make a single free agent signing or trade this summer. This unexpected silence has left fans and insiders puzzled. Much of the hesitation appears to stem from the unresolved future of Jonathan Kuminga and Golden State's inability to land key targets. One name that continues to surface, however, is veteran big man Al Horford, a player many believe could solve some of the Warriors' most pressing needs. NBA Insider urges Warriors to go all in, starting with Curry. NBA analyst Kevin O'Connor believes it's time for the Warriors to take a bold step. On a recent podcast, O'Connor suggested the team use its most powerful recruiting tool, Stephen Curry. "If I'm Golden State, I'm doing everything I can. I'm sending Steph to his front door. We need you. Let's win one more," O'Connor said. His point is simple. Horford, despite being 39 and nearing a full house with 6 kids, still plays at a high level. He remains a strong defender, a reliable three-point shooter, and a smart passer, all skills Golden State is desperate for. A familiar strategy that works. Recruiting superstars isn't a new strategy in the NBA. LeBron James personally recruited Anthony Davis to the Lakers, a move that resulted in a title. Steph Curry holds that same star power and respect around the league. If he makes the call, it could be enough to tip the scales. And Horford isn't just another name on the market. He represents exactly what this Warriors roster is lacking. A versatile big who can space the floor, and provide veteran leadership makes him a near-perfect complement to Golden State's core. Co-analyst Tom Haberstroh backed the idea, saying, he already feels like a Warrior. They've needed a true five who can move the ball, shoot, and think the game. Horford is that guy. He also noted how Horford aligns with Golden State's timeline. He's on the same timeline as Curry, Draymond, and now Butler. This could be the piece that brings it all together. The Hall of Fame case. O'Connor took it a step further, saying Horford is already close to securing a Hall of Fame career, and that one more title could solidify his legacy. If he wins another ring, that's it. He's in, he said. That kind of hunger and experience is exactly what the Warriors need in their locker room right now, especially as they try to make one final push with their aging core. The clock is ticking. With training camp fast approaching, the Warriors can't afford to wait much longer. Their roster still has clear gaps, especially in the front court, and Horford checks every box they need filled. For a team trying to squeeze every last drop out of the Curry era, playing it safe won't be enough. Golden State has to move. And if they're serious about contending, it might just start with a knock on Al Horford's door, from Steph himself. As the Warriors continue to weigh their options, the pressure is mounting. With training camp fast approaching, the front office must soon decide whether to act decisively or risk entering the season with unresolved roster questions. Two key priorities remain: determining Jonathan Kuminga's future and solidifying the frontcourt, potentially with the addition of Al Horford. Kuminga's uncertain status and trade possibilities. Internal discussions have intensified regarding the possibility of moving Jonathan Kuminga in a strategic trade. One rumored scenario involves acquiring rookie guard Devin Carter from the Sacramento Kings. Carter, a strong defender with high upside, could provide the backcourt depth Golden State is missing. Meanwhile, Kuminga would offer Sacramento a dynamic athletic wing who still has untapped potential. Golden State remains cautious, particularly about strengthening a division rival. However, sources suggest that if the right offer emerges, ideally from a team outside the Pacific Division, the Warriors might be open to parting ways with Kuminga. Horford still viewed as key target. At the same time, the Warriors continue to prioritize Al Horford as their ideal frontcourt addition. With Kevin Looney no longer on the roster, Horford's skill set, floor spacing, defensive IQ, and veteran leadership aligns perfectly with Golden State's system. Despite being 39 years old, Horford continues to produce at a high level, especially in playoff situations. Due to salary cap limitations, the Warriors can only offer Horford the taxpayer mid-level exception. While this signals that Golden State is committed to maximizing its current title window while gradually transitioning toward a younger core. Such moves would also allow Draymond Green to play more freely in his natural role, rather than being overextended as a small ball center. Horford's presence would ease that burden and improve the team's interior defense and spacing. Timeline and consequences. The next few days will be crucial. If Golden State can resolve Kuminga's future, either through a short-term extension or a trade, they will have a clearer path forward. A decision on Horford is expected soon, and if the Warriors miss out, their options for experienced big men become significantly limited. The longer the front office waits, the greater the risk of entering the season with an incomplete roster. Given the ages of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and now Jimmy Butler, time is no longer a luxury. Final outlook. Golden State is at a critical turning point. The path they choose in the coming weeks will define whether they are truly all in on competing for another championship or simply treading water in a rapidly evolving Western Conference. A move for Horford, paired with smart asset management around Kuminga, could provide the clarity and structure needed to make a serious run. The urgency is clear, decisions need to be made, and the window for change is closing.